right, we are live. This is going to be an awesome live. I want to jump straight into it while we wait for Miss Courtney. If you guys don't know me, hey, my name is Jordan. I'm a career and confidence coach, and I help career changers bust into new industries and just do what you want to do without having to start from the ground floor. So today is a segment where I'm going to be talking to Courtney Ball, and we're going to be talking about how to land six-figure jobs. We're going to be talking about how to be a leader, how to actually get there. So it's going to be super important. So let me see if I can bring Courtney on. Let's see, I invited her. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Jordan?
I am great. I'm so glad we were able to do this today. I'm really excited.
Me too. And I've never done a live stream like this. So this is fun. It's so easy. It was easy.
Yes, definitely easy. It's very, so typically before you hopped on, I was telling people just kind of how the segment typically goes. I typically do this on YouTube just because it's a little, it's a little long form and people get something out of it. But I do like to occasionally do it on Instagram because it's this informal conversation and a chat where we can really dive deep into these certain subjects. So.
Okay, let me press this too. It says share video, so I should share that too, right? Share video.
I'm
gonna be quiet. You're the boss.
No. Honestly, I always do these on YouTube, so I'm like, I'm not touching buttons. It looks like it's working.
Yeah, no, I know how that goes for sure.
So I want to start off the segment with a question that I typically ask all the guests, and it's a question that most interviewers, job seekers, they hate it, and it's the tell me about yourself question.
Okay. Well, I have some practice with this one. So tell you about me. Well, I am Courtney Ball, and I like to say that my superpower is helping people understand what their strengths are and actually figuring out how to express that at work. So whatever it is that you excel, what is the best job for you? And I've kind of been doing that and leaning into my strengths for a very long time. And at some point, my personal passion for that actually turned into my career. So I've been in HR. Now I'm an HR executive. I've been here for over a decade now. And I currently serve as the Chief Diversity and People Officer at a legal services org here in New York City. Yes. I should take that in. And I also serve as a leadership coach where I really get to, go deep with folks one-on-one and in a group setting around how do you confidently communicate your strengths, your impact to attract and land these six-figure opportunities. So when I think about me, that's me in a nutshell. And that passion, I talked about my career, but it does manifest in other parts of my life. So I can talk about that, but you tell me where you want to go.
Yeah, I want to talk about, because I'm sure people, whether they're watching live or replay, really want to get into how did you break into a leadership role? Because a lot of times you see all these tips and tricks and hacks, online, but really people get the most out of hearing how other people broke into these leadership roles.
Yeah. I would say I've been doing this leadership thing for a while. As an undergrad, I was involved in different leadership capacities, and my dream and my goal was to be a lawyer. So I'm like, I got to have all these extracurriculars. I got to show up all big and bold all the time. And then, long story short, I realized before committing to law school that I was more attracted to the impact that law has on people rather than practicing law. So I took all these leadership capabilities and I said, I have these transferable skills. Let me get into HR. And after about a year and a half, I was promoted to managing a team.
Oh, okay.
Not HR professionals, ironically, like office managers and executive assistants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then proved myself in that regard. And I said, I want to do things on my own terms. And that's kind of when the aha moment happened. And I was like, for all your life, you thought you wanted to be a lawyer, so you did what everybody told you to do, right? And then I took a moment to really think about, what do I want to do? What part of this HR stuff am I actually excited about? And it was the DEI and the leadership development. So I put my big girl pants on and I made a pitch for a director job. And girl, they gave it to me. And they said, you're going to lead DEI. And I share that story because I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there. And I literally just said, this is me. I'm not going to let y'all dictate how my career grows. This is what I want to do. So make it happen. And it happened. Me and all me authentically, you know? So it's possible.
That's great. I think what a lot of people sometimes are missing is that confidence piece. And so can you speak to how because we're not born confident, right? It's a learned skill. So can you kind of speak on how you built that confidence muscle to even go in there and, pitch them to be a director?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I never really thought about it that way. It is something that I work on pretty regularly, like within the context of leadership, because it's a new challenge all the time. But how did I build the muscle? It started out in smaller settings and communities. Like as an undergrad, I was the president of my sorority chapter, and even like early in grad chapter days, got involved in that regard too. And by taking on those smaller leadership roles, kind of learned I can do this. Right. People like working with me. Like I can set an agenda and help people learn their place so that we actually get things done. And those smaller roles ended up turning into a career in HR. And I'm not going to lie to you, Jordan. There are meetings that I walk in today. There are people I speak with, and I'm just like I'm scared. I don't feel like I know all the answers.
Right.
I'm just follow the script.
Right.
But that's what I mean by I have to work at it every day. And as you get higher and higher and higher, the challenges might be different, and you just learn to adapt. So while I know how to teach confidence and I am confident, it's a muscle that I have to consistently work on. Because imposter syndrome is real. It's very, very real.
Yes. And I would definitely want to touch on that, but I want to bring up one thing you said, because a lot of times when it comes to these executive roles or these leadership roles, people feel like you have to hop from, entry level straight on to leadership. And I like what you said about you took on small roles and you got more confident and you got more comfortable until you were able to hop into these director or leadership roles. And I think that's really important because, like I said, confidence is a muscle. And if we're not flexing it all the time, we're going to lose it.
Right. Awesome. And I don't believe that you have to take a linear path either.
Right.
Something that I teach as a leadership coach is, instead of trying to find a job you think you can get, that you meet every single qualification, look at where you want to be, where your experience is the strongest, where you thrive, and then find an environment that is looking to hire someone just like that, right? I think it makes it easier and less intimidating when you go into this whole conversation more comfortable, more familiar.
Exactly. I agree with you. It's easier. We make things a lot more difficult than they have to be. I was actually speaking with a young lady, and whenever I go out and I speak, and I always say, I'm an introvert through and through. Like I would rather be at home.
Yeah, me too.
Chilling. but I'm up there, I'm on stage, I'm talking and, doing all this stuff. And so she asked me, she was like, how do you do it? And I said to her, same thing we're talking about. It's a muscle. I had to put myself into situations where I was even just slightly uncomfortable and learn how to, articulate myself, learn how to make sure that the words I'm saying are coming across clear and correct and all that stuff. And so it's always going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be an uphill battle, but it will be a battle almost a little bit against yourself, especially if you're introverted. That's crazy.
Yes. I think I'm an introvert. As I get older, I feel more like an introvert. And maybe it's the pandemic. I'm like, actually, I'd rather stay at home. Like, I'm fine just being at home. It's something that I'm learning as I get older, too, is when you are an introvert, the amount of energy that it requires to, like, put yourself out there. Like, even you, as an introvert, getting up on stage, that takes a lot of energy because you're essentially performing, right? Yep. You're stepping out of your comfort zone to do that. And another thing that I'm very mindful of when I take on a new job or go into a difficult meeting or something that I'm like intimidated by is that I need my energy to be on point for that. Yes. So if I know it's not there, it's not the day, it's not the job, it's not the person, they got to catch me when I'm ready to deal with them.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. Big on it.
Yeah, because when you're not feeling it, it's you're right. When you're not feeling it, it is performative. It is, you're like, oh, now I gotta, put that mask on and keep going. And it's not working.
Yeah. And I'd rather spend my energy talking to you than being in a situation or a conversation that doesn't serve me, where I have to fake the funk, even in a leadership capacity. And being in HR, that happens quite often because a lot of the conversations are not all developmental and positive. Right. Sometimes I fire people. And I'm like, do we have to do that today? But it comes with the territory.
Definitely. So I wanted to kind of take a step back, and I really want to make sure that I want to start from the bottom up. So I want people to, no matter what level they're at, to get something out of this. So can we talk really quickly about how does one prepare themselves for a leadership role before they apply, before anything? Like, what are the steps?
Great question. I would say start with learning your craft. So if you are an HR professional, if you're a social media manager or a social media coordinator, an accountant, like, learn the basics of your job. You don't have to have this. It's not realistic to think you're going to have a year of experience and then become the chief diversity officer. And if you are, it's probably a scam. Like, it just doesn't make the most sense. But I would say that in your first 1 to 2 years, just work on being really, really, really good at your job. Because eventually that next step is managing people that do that exact same job.
Yes.
So learn how to do it really, really well. I would also say stay on top of industry trends in your area. As an HR professional, I think one reason I was given that opportunity to supervise a whole different department was because I demonstrated an understanding and a commitment to the business strategy of the organization. So I showed up. I said, well, if you change this, this, and this about the way that this team is run, we save the company X amount of dollars.
Gotcha.
That's not necessarily something that an HR generalist would do, right? But if you are in tune with the priorities of the business, you can insert yourself in that way. So staying on top of trends, and also never stop learning. I'm big on just being a sponge at your organization. Even if you are an introvert, like, go to the meetings, just join the Zoom and listen in so you know what's going on and what's important within your organization. Because ultimately, that could be what you're measured against, right? Like, everyone hates performance reviews. I love them because I'm in HR. But like, you want to know, How am I being evaluated? For me to go from entry level to mid management or mid level, what's required? And have those conversations, right? By way of networking, informational interviews. If you like your manager, talk to your manager, like if you don't, find somebody else within the organization that you can build rapport with. I try to look for other people of color. Who are the other Black folks here that I can, even if we just have a secret relationship and people don't know that we cool and she got my back, at least I have that, that'll help us. That'll go a long way.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so in line with that, so I learned, I hope this is a new term, because if not, I need to go do some research. But I heard about a term, constantly learning. I heard about a term called quiet quitting. Have you heard that term? Okay. So I'm like, I've been under a rock, I guess. But it's starting to circulate again around the internets. And people are just kind of, like they're going to work, they're coming home, that's it. They're not doing anything extra, anything. So what's the difference between kind of saying yes to, or what are the tasks that we want to say yes to that are promotional potential, that are, good for our career, versus those menial tasks, those things that we don't need to be saying yes to, like quiet quitting?
Want to break that down. What task should you maybe distance yourself from? I had to write that down because I want to talk about this quiet quitting business. Like, I heard it and I was like, what does that mean? It means you're disengaged?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Right? And people come to work dissatisfied every day. So that's not like a new thing. But if I could just interject this, it's concerning to me because, to me, disengaged is one thing, but being disengaged when we're already in this environment where you're getting a lot less contact with people, you aren't able to do the things that maybe bring you as much joy like we did in a pre-pandemic world. I'm like, what does that mean about someone's mental health if you're now saying they're totally disengaged, they're not interested in anything? Like, check on yourself, check in. You know what I mean? Like, if the job ain't where it's at, that's one thing. But if you just are not excited about anything, you might want to dig a little deeper.
Right.
What task should you kind of steer clear from? So when I say get really good at your job, there are some things in your profession that you must know. As an HR generalist, I must know benefits admin. I must know onboarding. I must know a little bit about learning and development and record keeping. Those are the things you want to lean into. The things that no matter where I'm a marketing coordinator, I have to know how to sell the organization by way of my writing, right? That's one thing. The things I would say stay away from are the things that your manager is like, hey, can you help me do this part of my job? That has nothing to do with you. Can you just do it because I don't want to do it? Maybe one time, okay, so learning experience, I learned how to file that. Great. Right. But if it's every week, if it's once a quarter and it's slowing you down from your own growth, that's when I would be like, can we get an intern? Can you hire somebody? Like, why? Because that really has nothing to do with your growth. It's something that I hear in my position, literally just heard it today, is that millennials and zillennials are so entitled. They aren't grateful for anything. And blah. And I'm just like, have you seen my student loan payments? You told me to get a bachelor's and a master's, right? And you said if I do all these things, the money will come. You lied. You lied.
Right.
And I think that's why we come in with a different level of expectation. So if you want me to be doing your filing and propping you up and making you look good, you got to pay me for that. Right. Or you can also say, I'm not doing it, I'm moving on. So that's the distinction I would make. Is it benefiting you? Is it helping you learn? Is it helping you grow and develop? Or are you doing somebody else's job? Because people will take advantage of you, especially if you're good at your job.
Yeah, definitely. I think I make the distinction a lot of times. I'm just in my content in general on the tasks that you just talked about. So tasks that are going to get you closer to promotion or going into or changing into a new industry. But there's also, like, I call them like doormat tasks where people are just asking to do this, that, and the other. And like you said, I think it's okay to do it. Sometimes get the learning experience, you know, but it shouldn't be like an everyday or every week occurrence.
Right.
How would you, so you went in and you pitched, you know, the director role and you got it. How would you, if someone, let's say someone's practicing and they're not quite ready for that, how would you have someone say no to one of these tasks that don't serve them? Like they're not ready to pitch, you know, they're not ready to do that, but they're ready to say no. How would you advise them in saying no?
That's a really good question. And I think you, especially if you're not ready to kind of say, this is beyond me, I'm ready for something else. I recommend having a direct conversation with your manager. And again, depending on your rapport with their manager, like your department head, maybe this conversation is with them, but have a conversation about your long-term plan at the organization. Coming to a department head and saying, I really love the mission of this organization. I'm looking to grow here. I want to stay here. I'm wondering, how have you landed in the position that you're in? What can I expect 2 years from now? That sounds very different to an executive than, so when am I getting promoted? Because you said during the interview it would be 6 months and then I get the raise. That's what you said.
Yeah.
I got it in my notes. That's what you said.
Yeah.
It's very different. And if you have that conversation and let them know, I'm here for the long term, but for me to grow, I can't do your filing. So like, how can we work that into the long-term plan? People have to see that you are on the same page with them in terms of the goal for the department and the organization. And I think that's what people miss sometimes. They focus more, and rightfully so, you focus more so on your own self and what you want to get done, failing to realize that these companies don't care about you. It's a business.
Right. Yep. And the more you're able to do for the business, the higher you're going to go. Because I see it a lot, and especially like, for example, tech people, oh my goodness, I see this all the time. Someone literally asked, what is the smallest amount of work I can do for like the highest check? And I'm like, I don't think it works like that. I don't think so. You're sitting in your house doing nothing. Like, you might be able to, but that's not how this works.
Right. Take a couple steps back.
Right.
Let's reframe this.
But talking about tasks, so let's get into like actually going for these 6-figure jobs. So these tasks obviously are going on our resume. So how do we structure our resume to help us land these leadership roles?
Yeah. You want to make sure you are always conveying what impact you made in your role, rather than, I see so many people that have like years of experience still copying and pasting the job description. What that doesn't speak to what you do and how you do it.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure you're conveying your impact on your resume. I like to do that by like highlighting accomplishments, having numbers that show I decreased employee turnover by X percentage over the course of 12 months by doing this, this, and this. Also, you can have your impact on your resume. You can spell out, like, use the same language they use in their job description to make sure you're getting picked up by the ATS. But I also tell folks, don't get overly concerned about having the perfect resume. If you can get your foot in the door by way of an informational interview, connecting with someone that knows someone there so they can slide your resume to the top of the pile, leverage that, because it will help you get noticed by the right people a lot sooner. So there are things you can do for these jobs, but I also recommend not being afraid to like be direct about the kind of job you want. If you want to be in tech, work at Twitter, wherever, like be really intentional and direct about your path getting there, rather than saying, I want to work in tech, but I know that Courtney was just talking about legal services and, oh, I know her, she got a job there. That's not in alignment with what you want to do. So could you get the job there? Sure. You know me now. But is that going to be what you want to do long term? So are you going to stay there? Are you going to be happy? Are you going to be able to get the promotions that you want? Probably not.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And you just said a buzzword. You said happy, right? A lot of people aren't happy at their job. And so, and you said another buzzword that I'm sure us, career and leadership coaches hear all the time, which is alignment. So when it comes to these leadership roles, how do people stay in alignment? How do they not just, go for any and everything, every shiny object they see?
I'm trying not, you said it and I immediately went to like a spiritual place. Like you have to know yourself and what makes you tick, what your purpose is, what your personal mission is. I know that I'm really, really good at helping people discover what they're good at and helping them be more confident in expressing that. That's been a trend throughout my life. So being a leadership coach, being a DEI executive, that aligns well with me. I also know I'm good with people. So if you look at my resume, I've worked at law firms, I've worked at consulting firms, and I've worked at nonprofits. Different industries, but across the board, they make their money, they're able to fundraise because of the experts they have on staff. And I do well in those kind of environments. So you have to learn what your mission is, where your skills are best used and leveraged, and then focus on those opportunities. I could go try to work at a law firm. Do I really want to work at a big firm right now? Maybe not now, maybe later. But you have to figure these things out so that you can have good, sound discernment on which opportunities fit you. And call up someone like you. Like, if you don't know how to find that alignment, get you some help. Because you don't have to figure it out all by yourself. You can call an expert and say, Jordan, help me. I need help from beginning to end. I need that clarity from you. So I would say that's how you understand alignment, but also don't be afraid to get help and invest in yourself if you're ready to really make that transition from entry level to leadership. That's a big step.
Yeah, and I think you keep saying all the buzzwords. You said clarity too. So it's it's important.
I see that in your content a lot.
Right. I'm like, clarity, it's all about clarity. But before I got into the coaching world and before I got, the education and the knowledge beyond just, like the HR, I was like, clarity? What clarity? And I was like, that doesn't make sense. I just want to know, I want a resume template and I want to know how to get a job. But at the end of the day, when I actually started getting into this sphere a while ago, I was able to see, the reason that people are unhappy, the reason people always are like, this job sucks, and is because they're not in alignment with what they want to do, or they think that they can't do whatever it is that they desire. And that's one of the really big reasons why I got into career coaching, because I was like, no, if I can do it, y'all gonna do it.
Jordan, is that why you also help your clients with building their confidence? Gotcha.
Yep.
Love that. Love that. Yeah.
Yep.
It's all
so
connected.
Hard. Yeah, it's so hard to get where you're going in life without confidence, because you're always going to be doubting yourself. You're always going to have imposter syndrome, like you mentioned before. And that's just like, it's always going to come up because we're humans, and that's just how we are. Like you said, sometimes even you still get like nervous, but there needs to come a point where you get, or there will come a point where you get so tired of being, you know, meek and timid and like you never take opportunity. There's gonna be something is going to snap and you're gonna be like, you know what? It's my time today.
Yes, yes. I had that. I remember the moment. I'm sitting in my car. Are you a fan of Lizzo?
Yes.
Have you listened to her new album?
Only a couple songs.
Okay. On one song, she's talking about a breakup, and she was like, I remember I was crying in my car, and I was just like, Lizzo, I know exactly what you mean. I remember sitting there and just being like, what am I doing? I'm so unhappy. So unhappy. And being at these jobs that are not in alignment will literally suck the life out of you. So when you say you reach that point where it's like, I can't take this anymore, it's spot on. And that's when you call Jordan. Yes. I need help. I don't want to live like this anymore. I want better for myself. And what I had to realize, I had to gain the confidence to accept that I deserved more than what I was giving to myself.
Yes.
And that was huge. Huge.
Exactly. Yes. Because I love that. Like you know you deserve more. So why aren't you out there getting it, right? And if you don't know, again, you call someone like me, you call someone like you, figure it out. We're in all the gurus love to say we're in the age of the internet. Everything's on the internet. If you can't, and the internet is such a hodgepodge of information. That's why I really enjoy coaching, because it takes everything and like synthesizes it and makes it very direct, very like, I don't have to spend 18 years piecing together blog posts. I can literally invest in myself and boom, the coach is going to be there to answer my questions and help me along the way. And so when you do that, when you invest in yourself and you almost literally invest in a shortcut, like we've already made all the mistakes. We've made them for you. So you can definitely get the fast pass on this one.
I love a good shortcut. I do. I really do. What is the point of wasting your time if I can just go to you and say, this is where I want to be. Tell me what I have to do. I mean, you have to be coachable. Yes. Right? But if you're ready to do that and ready to see the results you've been working so hard for, invest.
Awesome. So let's get, because I know we're like preaching now. I want to make sure people are getting the technical. So how do you actually, let's say you go on Indeed, you go on Monster. That's typically people like to anonymously apply through those things. One, is your suggestion to more so focus on your network rather than anonymously applying? And then two, how do you stand out in the application process?
Yeah, definitely focus on your network over Indeed. What Indeed does not tell you is, even though they have millions of jobs, in my ATS, which is a very popular one that a lot of orgs use, if someone applies from Indeed, there's so much information that's like missing. So if I'm being honest, many of the resumes we get from Indeed, people are just like, oh, this person just randomly applied. They're not really interested in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the anonymous part, like, that's not attractive to me as if I'm putting my recruiter hat on. I recommend going through your network so that other people can advocate for you on your behalf and really talk about everything that makes you amazing and how you stand out. Depending on what kind of role you're applying for, I always say make those personal connections, because someone singing your praises and talking about real life experiences working with you goes a lot further than your resume.
Right.
You know?
Agreed.
If I can kind of reflect and recall, oh, I know that Jordan knows such and such, and they worked on this project together. That's powerful, and it'll make you stand out in a recruiter's mind, and definitely with a hiring manager.
Okay. And then how would you, because I get this question a lot, so I love hearing other people's perspective. How do you reach out to a recruiter? How do you, so either people are like, they feel entitled to the recruiter's time, or maybe they feel like they're bothering the recruiter, or like, so how do you confidently and making a splash reach out to a recruiter?
Well, you know, I've said on the recruiter side. So a few things. We already talked about alignment, but every recruiter is not your friend. Every recruiter is not trying to recruit for the kinds of roles that are in alignment with you. Yeah. So you should start by researching, like, if you're here in New York City and you want to work in HR in financial services, there is a staffing agency that most of the banks and whatnot use. Contact that recruiter. You know, instead of contacting a recruiter that specializes in nonprofit placements at the C-suite level. Like, it's just not the same. So do your research and then make a direct ask. I like LinkedIn, but I say make a direct ask because what people don't realize, you're not wasting the recruiter's time. The recruiter wants to find the perfect candidate so they get paid. So they actually place the candidate. So if you have a background that aligns with the role they're sourcing for, they're going to want to meet you. They're going to want to talk to you. So approach it confidently and directly.
Awesome. Yeah. I like that you said that every recruiter is different, because I, again, see it. People are like, they're reaching out to the wrong recruiters, and then they're wondering why, like, they never get picked up, or maybe even the recruiter ghosts them or something like that. And I'm like, well, that's not your person. And then I think sometimes career coaches or people that work in like career or leadership kind of get put in with recruiters only because of the kind of similarities. But I always want people to know that recruiters, they can work for the company or they can be solo recruiters, but at the end of the day, it's their job to place the candidate that they feel is best. So it's your job to make them see you as the best candidate. It's not their job to place you. Like, they're not a staffing agency and they're not like a temp agency or whatever. They're literally, they're going to find whoever. And if you're not that person, then you can't get mad at the recruiter for not, placing you because you didn't articulate your best candidacy or whatever you want to call it.
And keep those connections, right? Like, if you meet one and you cool with them, but maybe the job didn't work out, maintain those connections, because that's who the recruiter turns to when they have a role that fits you well. They'll turn right back to you. It's easy. You're making their job easier.
You can even refer some people. That's a great way to keep in people, keep in their good graces. They're like, oh, you gave me somebody. I'll keep a lookout for anything for you.
Right. Always.
Okay, and so now that we've kind of gotten into both the resume and the application process, I want to move into, especially for these six-figure roles or for these leadership roles, for those they're like, I'm ready, I got this, I'm good to go. How do we prep for the interview stage? So they did their application, their resume looks amazing, and they've gotten called for an interview. How do we prep?
Yes. Research. Anything I can find about the company, the role, the team, I want to document that and understand it. So if you are applying for a director level job, what they expect from you is going to be clearly articulated in that job description. Your scope of work, who you will be working with, you can likely find all that information on LinkedIn or their website. So as much intel as you can gather, you want to do that ahead of the interview. So you understand, beyond the job description, what do they really need in this role? And I'll give you an example. Right now, I have a corporate client I'm working with to hire an HR executive. They're a nonprofit. If you look at their website, you see they just got a new CEO. And they are getting into new service areas. They're probably going to need an HR person that understands what it means to open offices in new states. They're going to need to know, how do you hire people there? Like, what kind of recruiting methods you want to employ. So when I go into the interview, I'm going to have some notes to be able to speak to that, how I've done it in my career. I go into every interview with a notebook and a pen because I know there's certain experiences. If I don't say anything, this part has to land. Like they have to know that this is the impact I've had in this particular area. And then another thing in the interview, I always try to approach it like a conversation because imposter syndrome is real. Yeah. And I never want to be in an interview where I feel like I have to prove something to someone or I have to start listing my credentials. I already got the interview. So y'all want me, right? Yeah. Let's have a real conversation. And that has helped me a lot. And the other reason I approach it as a conversation at that level, you're not joining a team where the most important dynamic is, can I please my manager? It's, do we like working together?
Yes.
And you want to test that out, gauge that during the interview process. So I try to be as authentic as possible without hurting people's feelings.
And so when you're doing your research, you're going above and beyond like the mission statement and all that. You're going above and beyond that when you're trying to find that connection, or you're trying to find, like you said, if they're opening new offices, you speak to that, or if they are looking for, certain expertise in the job description, you speak to that. And I think, and we've talked about research, like you are basically a researcher during your time of either job seeking or even before that. You are researching, and that is what you are doing at that point. And I think it's super important. You talked about, I want to roll back because I do want to talk about your time as, you're still the director, or you moved to the chief of diversity?
I'm chief now.
Okay, chief, got it. So in your time moving from that role to the current role, what skills did you have to gain? Because I want to make sure people understand that you just can't stay stagnant and expect to move up. Even though we've talked about resume interview process, I want to know like the skills. I want them to know the skills rather.
Yeah. I would say the biggest skill I had to learn, and I'm going to try to make this as articulate as possible. As a director, I was very comfortable being a director in the DEI space. I have an expertise there. I can do programs all day. I'm your go-to person. What's a little different in the C-suite is you have to be an authority on all things under your purview. You also need to be able to hold people, and I'm in HR, hold people accountable no matter what the power dynamic is.
Right.
And as a director, challenging men, particularly white men, that hold a lot of power within an organization, that was scary for me. And I found myself being more timid about it, just doing it over email instead of being direct. And I had to learn that before taking on this chief role. And at the end of the day, how did I learn it? Just being straightforward with them and recognizing that everyone is human. And even if you are 20 years older than me and your kids are my age, we can have a real conversation. We can talk about that too, And I also had to really lean into the fact that they're not looking at me like, oh, you're this 30-something-year-old and I'm grown. They're looking at me as, you're the chief HR person, so I'm turning to you for this advice. And even if you don't feel like, even if you're a bit sheepish about your position because of your age or because you're the only Black woman, you still the expert. You got the title and they're looking at you for that expertise. So I learned how to be more confident and expressive about that. And I made it here. And I'm doing it a year into the position.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like you had to really step out of your comfort zone in order to transition from the director to the chief role?
Yeah, because another thing, Jordan, being in HR, I hate firing people. Like, I hate it. I get nauseous. The first time I had to do it, and it was like I got hives because it was a whole dramatic thing that we could talk about over wine one day. But like, I was so nervous. I hate it. And as a director, I had the chief. So if it was ever going to be a really tough one, I could be like, well, you the boss, so you should do it. I'll send the paperwork.
Right.
And when you're the chief,
now you the boss.
You the boss. And I will still text him all the time and just be like, I hate being the bad cop. But it comes with the territory. And I've also learned, even if there's an aspect of your job you don't love, you can put your own spin on it. Right. So when I fire someone, I'm never like, hi, Courtney, you're fired. Close laptop. Like, we can have a conversation. I'll say, take this all in. Like, I'm here for you. I'm happy to help you with your transition. It doesn't have to be this cold shark. I call my old boss the shark. It doesn't have to be like that, you know? And that also helped me a lot.
Awesome. All right. This has been great. Like, I've even learned stuff. I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay. So,
Jordan, do you primarily help people in a specific industry or a specific profession?
No, so what I specifically do is I help career changers. So if you're trying to transition from one industry or field into another, because a lot of people have problems with articulating their transferable skills. And so it's the same kind of skill tree or skill cycle, whereas it's not really about what specifically the skill is. It's about how you articulate it. So you're able to, whether you want to go to tech, HR tech, whatever, it's about being able to put together like a unique job strategy, a job search strategy.
Love it. That's awesome.
So I do want to talk about, so I see we're at 7:47. I did really quickly want to talk about your upcoming summit. Yay. I want them to know about this awesomeness. So it's called the Emerging Lead Her Summit, and it's a career and income development event for HR generalists that are transitioning to HR leadership. So can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yes. So if you are ready to become an HR director, a CHRO, a chief diversity officer, you want to be in the room, because what the summit is all about is teaching you how to confidently articulate your impact. But I think the most critical part is how to do it and attract these six-figure jobs. I want everyone that attends the summit to leave the Zoom room, with a plan to actually go forth and land these jobs. So you'll leave with an updated LinkedIn, with an updated resume, with interview strategy, and also with a short list of what opportunities you should target. Because that alignment we talked about earlier, we'll spend a whole workshop talking about what is your unique value add that will command that six-figure salary. That's the secret sauce. Seriously.
I know. I'm like, I love it. It sounds so fun. We're like two coaches and we're like, yay.
Yay, yes. And it's happening, let me say this part too, October 7th through the 9th. It's primarily virtual. And you can grab tickets at the link in my bio. And the link is bit.ly/2022 Lead Her Summit.
Got you. And then you said it's primarily virtual. So is there an in-person component, or is that full?
Yes, it's primarily virtual. There's an in-person networking dinner with our keynote speaker. I'm a huge Bravo fan. Housewives. I love me some Housewives. And our keynote is Ebony K. Williams from Real Housewives of New York. She's our soror too. And she's going to just be amazing. And we get to hear her speak. We get to have a live Q&A with her. I have 2 tickets left for the in-person dinner. It's intimate. I don't do COVID, and I certainly don't do monkeypox. So it's only going to be 15 people at dinner. And we will be spaced out here in Manhattan. It'll be a good time, a delicious time. But you can also join virtually. You can hear Ebony over the live stream too.
Okay. Awesome. And so there is a promo code, right?
Yes.
All right.
Special promo code for your followers.
Yes.
You want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, go ahead and put it in the chat, and then I'll just say, when you guys go to her link in her bio, if you use leadher_Jordan, then you're able to get 10% off of your ticket. And this is happening October 7th through the 9th. So it is, it's going to be great. Lead her, HER, just let you guys know, _Jordan. So make sure you guys go and get your tickets. It's going to be great. I'm sitting here looking at all the things that are going to be in the summit, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yes, it's going to be so awesome. I have all kinds of goodies. I just booked the venue for the dinner today. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. Make sure you go click the link in her bio. Use leadher_Jordan for 10% off of your ticket for the Emerging Lead Her Summit. And I want you to leave everyone watching live and on the replay lasting words of wisdom. So if there's one thing you could tell someone about trying to land a 6-figure job or move into a leadership role, what would it be?
Your unique experience is highly valuable and it makes you indispensable. So find the right opportunity for you.
Awesome. Short, sweet, and simple. I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm like, what would I put in a Hallmark card?
All right, just there you go. Well, thank you so much for this live. I am going to put it out everywhere because it's been amazing and this information people need to know. So make sure you guys go and follow Courtney on her Instagram, on her LinkedIn, and you can they find all of your socials on your Instagram? Okay, so go follow her on her Instagram. She'll have all her other socials there. Make sure you guys check out the link for the Emerging Lead Her Summit. And
don't forget your promo code.
Don't forget the promo code leader_Jordan. And I think we're good to go. I am so happy that we had this chat. And I know it's been a long time coming, but this has been awesome.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having me. And have a wonderful night.
All right, you too.
Take care.
Right, bye. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I said it, I'm going to say it again. Go to the link in her bio. Make sure you guys, if you want to be an HR leader, if you want to get into that leadership role, make sure you go to the Emerging Lead Her Summit. There is a promo code, leadher_Jordan. Do that. You get 10% off your ticket. I will see you guys on the next Is It Friday Yet? Super excited. I have a bunch of people lined up. So we're just going to keep this rolling. You're going to get all types of goodies and information. Make sure you check out the link in my bio for more information on how to work with me if you're trying to transition into a new career. It's definitely something I can help you with. So click the link in my bio. See you guys later.